Hi, my name is Daniel Foley Carter, and on today's SEO Audit podcast, I have Ben Goodey with me, and I have to say this is one of the first podcasts I've ever done, so I will trip over, stumble. Even though I've done webinars, it's sort of new to me to start podcasting, and obviously I want to get people in from the SEO circuit in to talk about different aspects of SEO, be it from content to tech to development to industry. So, hi Ben, if you want to say hello, introduce yourself, just explain or maybe say a little bit about your background, what you do.
Sure. Hi. Firstly, it's my honor to be on one of your first ever podcasts. It's like a moment in history.
Yeah, no,
Um,
I'm glad to have you on. I actually had like 20, 30, about 30 people message me within the first hour. So you popped up and I was
really?
like, I recognise you, so I thought I'll pick you out first.
Oh, good. That's the power of
So,
LinkedIn.
yeah, yes,
Um,
brilliant.
yeah. A bit about me is like I have my own podcast actually. It's basically 100% focuses on SEO case studies.
Yeah,
Um, and I get people like yourself on to just tell me about their biggest, wins and their success stories and how exactly they did it. Um,
yeah.
and that's like a big part of what I do. It's like running a community basically. It's you can subscribe, and if you pay £8 a month, you get full access to all the case studies and the library and all the templates and little things like that. Um, and yeah, on the side, like basically I'm a SEO freelancer and I work with people in that way. But yeah, my background's actually in B2B SaaS, in the
Oh,
boring
really?
world of dreadful technology that no one really cares about and trying to sell it. Um, and I kind of slipped into SEO because I just found like it was the best way to for the companies I was working for to grow like consistently and like not be reliant on a paid campaign that might not work, and like it just was the way that I saw things actually working, like one of the few ways that we were getting demo requests and things. And
When did you get into SEO?
officially, I got into SEO probably my first ever internship before I went to uni. I worked for a online travel agent kind of thing, like Airbnb before Airbnb, and
Yeah.
I was yeah, I literally was getting paid €200 a month, I think, with them.
Oh, wow.
And but it was in Barcelona, so my whole point was like I want to be there. It was like just a way for me to be there, and yeah, it was actually really fun. But I think one of the first things I ever did was what the business had just there'd been a big algorithm update,
Yeah.
and the business had gone from smashing it on SEO to zero revenue overnight. So like it was like three
Oh,
thousand
wow.
euros a day to zero overnight.
I'm going to take a
Something.
punt and say, I'm just going to take a guess and say one of the updates that hit so many people was Panda, Penguin, or Hummingbird. Was it one of those?
You know, I'm not actually sure. Let, let me. It was around 2012. Was
Yeah,
that like
so it would have
that?
been Humming. No, I think Hummingbird was 2013. It would. I think probably
It
Panda.
might be.
Panda was a pretty harsh update
Yeah.
on a lot of sites. So you basically went
Well,
in. You're in the SEO. You come into the SEO industry. You've got your job with the travel agent. As soon as you get your feet under the table, they get clobbered.
yeah,
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 that's
pretty
not
much.
good, is it?
And my job was like to email other webs. They've been doing this like link farming thing. This was the time when you could get your link on millions of websites, and all these websites just existed to have links on them, and they did that, and it worked really well. And then the
Yeah,
update came, so I was like emailing websites trying to get rid of links, and um, yeah, it was
I
a good
remember.
first.
Uh, I remember the early days. I think the thing is actually like getting. Let's just get stuck in to some of the raw stuff with SEO. So I think the funny thing is right is that. So I started doing SEO in 98, 99. That was the first time I'd
Wow.
ever done anything with SEO. Yeah. So um, a, a, a little bit of backstory on my side. So my intention was in the 90s, I wanted to be a web designer. So, I got a Windows 95 PC, then Windows 98, then I was building websites. And basically, I started to learn how to program. So, basically, I was building Visual Basic apps, and I wanted to sell them. And effectively, I built these apps, put them on the website. I was like, how do I get people to the website? So when I started doing SEO, one of the biggest search engines was Alta Vista, and there were hundreds of search engines. So I started doing that. Google didn't really gain traction until sort of the early 2000s. Yahoo dominated, and effectively, throughout the 2000s, early 2000s, I was working in SEO agencies in London, and I've seen the industry and how much it's changed. So obviously, we've gone from the days, as you've mentioned, where there were link farms, FFA. It was really simple to just basically get loads of links from really crappy sites, to the point now where, and we'll probably talk about this briefly, where we've got, ChatGPT on the scenes, and it's crazy how much things have changed. Absolutely crazy. And I think now SEO is still very generalized. People still narrow it down to content links, but there's so many mechanics around those things that make SEO more. And I think people that are coming into the SEO industry now have got a far bigger challenge in terms of learning versus, maybe when you started doing SEO, when I started doing SEO, things were a lot easier, and I've seen things change. So from an SEO perspective, so you started, were you new into the industry in 2013, 12, 13?
So that was, honestly, that was like my first sort of thing. And then since then I took like quite a big break where I kind of just did my own things on the side, but it was like kind of just like a little bit of blogging and digging into it. And it was really only probably 20. I went to uni and I studied economics, and I thought I wanted to go into finance, and I did an internship in finance and realized it sucked, and I was like way more entrepreneurial than that, and just I couldn't sit there and I couldn't push numbers around, although I'm kind of pushing SEO numbers around now. But I've always it's probably been since like more like 2015, 2016 where I've been like doing this a bit more full time. And it was really like I came on as like the first marketer in a SaaS company, probably like, was it 2016, something like that. And that was the first time it was like, okay, I'm going to fully build a company from scratch, all the different channels, and that was when it was like. I still think the best way to learn SEO is from actually trying to build a website, because you can only do so many courses, and then you realize like you can do everything perfectly and still not win, and then you go another level deeper, and then
that's a very very good point. I think the thing is as well is that over the years people have got to know certain names in the industry. So for a lot of people that have sort of been around in the industry 10 or so years, or 10 plus years, will name the likes of Rand Fishkin, Matt Cutts, Danny Sullivan. And then there's people like Neil Patel, who, Neil Patel obviously has done very well. Some people over the years have said that I've sort of aimed shots at him on LinkedIn in the past, but I think the reality is it's like Neil Patel is a marketer, and he's obviously built some very successful businesses. But when he's doing videos that effectively are saying, SEO is easy, just do these quick things, and it's like it's babifying SEO, making it look like it's something simple when it's not. And I think SEO education is, as you quite rightly said, is better learned. So people have to start somewhere, right? And there's a lot of bad information out there from an SEO perspective. Like, people get this view that it's easy, just write blogs and the traffic will come. And I think, for a lot of industries, you can just do the basic things and get traffic. But, when you start talking about like going after transactional intent or high value terms, you can't sit and write a blog, and you can't read SEO courses and come out and then think, oh, I know what I'm going to do. It's, as you said, like, practice is the best thing. So if there's any of you SEOs out there that are junior or not long into the industry, go to cloudways.com. I'm not promoting those guys for any affiliate stuff because I don't do that, but Cloudways are like incredible. Go to cloudways.com, get a server for $10. Go and buy a domain name from a hosting provider, set up a WordPress instant, and pick something. Pick something that you've got as a hobby. Go out there, create some content, test your site, set up Search Console, and play around. How did you learn SEO?
It was exactly that, really. I think the first. I mean, and this didn't go anywhere, but me and my cousin once, like, we had one of those moments where we were just like brainstorming in the kitchen. We're like, oh my god, we're gonna make millions and do this business, and we set up like a WordPress website, and I think it made like $5. Like someone affiliate, it was like an affiliate product or something, but like it was one of those where it was like, that was actually back in 2012 as well. It was one of those where I was like, the first time I was like seeing the power of search traffic. I was like, someone just bought something online without me doing anything. Like they just came to a product that I reviewed or something. Anyway, it was just little things like that over the years that I learned it. Like I've never worked in an agency, so I still get quite confused. Like clients I work with, like almost all of them tell me like, oh, I'm not sure what that agency did, or like they charge me. I heard someone the other day who charged $10,000 a month for 4 blog posts, and none of them ranked. So like,
oh, man,
I don't know what agencies necessarily do. Like, no shade to them, but I'm sure there's some very, very good ones. But I'm sure there's a bunch of con men out there.
I'd say on the agency front, interestingly, so again, another thing that I've been seen doing on LinkedIn is aiming shots at the SEO agency side of things. But I own an agency, so I have put negative posts towards agencies on LinkedIn. But again, it's one of those things where if an agency is good and they know it, they won't care. But if an agency sees something like that and thinks, oh, who is he to say anything? Well, I've worked with a lot of businesses over the years. I've done so many audits, I've lost count. And I firsthand get to see, because when I do an audit, I request that the company that have booked an audit send me, any of the work that they've had done previously, any reports, proposals, so I can see what was proposed, what was done. And it's like shocking, absolutely shocking, the work that I've seen. And when you talk about an agency is a collection of people. So an agency might be good, but have 2 rogue people in there that are bad and don't know what they're doing. Or the agency might be built on a scale model where, they're charging £5,000 or dollars a month. They're spending maybe $2,000 on the account, getting cheap links, paying for cheap writers, and then pocketing the rest. I think that's endemic.
Yeah. I agree. I think that's exactly. I don't know exactly what it is, but I think it is that, like, if you come in as an agency and you say, I'm just going to get any client because I want the money, then you don't really have enough money to charge your outsourced people, so you just get the cheapest you can and get away with it.
That's it.
I think maybe there is like, SEO is quite technical, to be honest, and I think you need quite a lot of experience of having played with it. Like, we can all understand the topic cluster, but like really seeing how that works, like the links and all that kind of thing, is another thing. And if I'm working with a CMO who doesn't really know SEO, it would be there's quite a gap in the knowledge that I could convince you anything, really, because you don't know the underside.
If you don't understand, and I think actually that's another very good point. Like, you could bring up a point, it's easy for me to find something to talk about it or to string it out, but the point that you made is really good, because a lot of people buy into SEO, and sometimes they're sold by not understanding, because they think, well, this guy clearly knows something that we don't. Let's give him a shot. And I did something. I posted a snapshot of a WhatsApp conversation that I had. So I have a WhatsApp chat bubble on my SEO consultancy site. And every now and again, I'll get an inquiry through it. And then someone will say, "Hi, Dan, we're looking for an SEO." And this particular guy had come to me a couple of weeks before. I just basically said, "Look, I don't really take clients on in the conventional way. I basically, what I'll do is someone will come to me for SEO. I'll say, look, here's my audit site. Go and book an audit. I'll do an audit, and then I can, once I understand everything, I can do a proposal. Because then the proposal sets the precedent for the so the audit sets a precedent for the proposal." And effectively, this guy has come back to me, and then he kept asking me, can I have timelines and costings? And effectively, I just basically said, I can't give you that information. I can't tell you, if when Google's going to roll out an update, what the impact of the work will be. I haven't worked with the client, so I could sit there and say, well, we need to change all this content. And the client might say, no, I don't like this content, or they might not approve it. And there's so many unknowns that, you can't put something to it. So, when you talk about clients not understanding, that is endemic as well, I think. And I think a lot of people prey on that when they're trying to sell SEO.
Yeah, I agree. I completely agree. Like when I was talking with Louis Smith, e-commerce SEO does
Shopify and e-commerce.
Enterprise, And I did a podcast with him earlier today, and we talked about the backlink industry and the state of the backlink industry. And I was like, I see people offering £500 for a DR45 link. And that's, and I just was like, are you paying this? Because I'm like, is anyone making money from this? And also, and he made a very good point that it's a long-standing myth, opinion, something that's evolving in the industry that if you get 10 DR70 links, that is going to help. It doesn't matter what it is. So if you pay, that's going to be it.
Yeah.
And doesn't matter if it's a wrong topic, wrong websites, wrong anything. It's just people are really charging anything for links these days.
Did you say £500 a link?
I think so, yeah. I can't remember the website. Actually, it was I can tell you the website right now. I won't tell you the actual name of the website, but I'll tell you how much it was.
Yeah.
I don't know if this is good or not, but you can use your network. You can do guest posts. You can get on podcasts. But so this was 15 links for 7,500.
Wow.
Or 5 links for 1,250. That's from DR40 sites. 5 links for 1,250. I mean, I could do that today in about 2 hours.
Do you know? Sorry, I literally feel like chewing my face off when people rely on DR as a metric, because I just can't understand. DR is primarily Ahrefs algorithmic calculation based upon the quantity of inbound links, and DR, DA, for anything from Ahrefs to Moz, Majestic, none of these metrics have any correlation factors with Google whatsoever. The general consensus is if something has a higher DR, it's likely to be more popular, and people base that on the correlation that link sites that are far more popular link-wise have more weighting. Yeah. If anyone is watching, the most simple thing that you can ever do is combine DR with traffic projections. And I would also say one thing that is really, really super important, and you can do this really quickly if you go to Ahrefs and you go on the left-hand menu in Ahrefs, and you go to backlinks, and then inside backlinks you've got a filter, and you can select traffic from, and you just put one. Okay, so whenever I'm looking for link opportunities, I'm always looking for something that has got some form of projected traffic. Now, like when I put stuff on LinkedIn, sometimes, I say like about SEMrush and Ahrefs and how people have an over-reliance on tools. But I'd say if you were going to decide on link factors, I'd always go with projected traffic, because if something has got projected traffic, it's must have some form of visibility, and if it's got some form of visibility, it must mean that they at least have some content of value. But people are still selling links with DR.
People will happily go. People will happily go like, I've got this website, it's DR50, find what you want, and then they'll just find anchor text on a blog from 20 years ago, which has never been seen by anybody, and just be like, oh, it says white t-shirt, so I'll put it there. That doesn't, it doesn't really make sense. I really like that about the traffic thing. That makes sense. I would also something I do. Maybe I don't know if I think it's fair. It is when a link builder says something like that to me, like, here's my site, I will just look for I'll just go on Ahrefs and filter for their top pages, and I get the best by links or something, and just I'll ask for one in there, and if they give it to me, then they normally do, which I think people should probably watch their link builders. So.
Oh, definitely. I think the thing is that the link building industry hasn't actually changed all that much over the years. So we've got link spam, which is getting out of control now, in the sense that everyone is selling links, and links are like a precious commodity for SEOs. I think in terms of the sustainability of it, I think that it will definitely become something where buying links on guest posts and niche edits will go through a transition phase. So what I mean by that is Google for the last 20 years has really struggled massively to address link spam, and even now it still can't fully address link spam, because their detection models have improved, because obviously we've got artificial intelligence. Rank brain was the first connotation of artificial intelligence being used as part of algorithmic weighting. Now they've rolled out spam brain. I think the introduction of AI into link assessment is really going to turn the table. So I think what we're going to see is more and more SEOs are going to realize that the value from buying these links is just going to diminish. It won't fully disappear, but it will diminish. Mm-hmm. And I think what people are going to look to do now, and I'm already seeing it with the transition to Harrow, a lot more people now are using Harrow, Turkle, Cision. The style of link building, I think, is going to change. Will Black Hat link tactics disappear? No, they'll just evolve. What do you think will happen with the link landscape?
I don't know if it will go there, but I think where it should go is just like, if you have a blog about a very specific topic, I think find the most authoritative websites you can and figure out, get smart and get I don't know, like figure out how to get on those sites, like do what you can and treat each link with a bit more, like, it's not about volume kind of thing, it's about quality, and try to build them just like way more strategically. I hope that's where it's going. I do like you said, like Harrow. I do like the kind of growth in like PR link building. I think that kind of makes sense, because it's white hat, right? It's like you create a cool story and give people a reason to link to you. And I think that makes sense, again, because it's a bit more authentic. I honestly, there are companies building thousands and thousands of links each month. I don't know how much they're paying, but I think maybe that's
I
the
I
yeah.
I've seen for example, with transition from like buying loads of guest posts and niche edits or earning links through like link reclamation. I think the thing is though is that niche edits and guest posts will still carry weight as long as they're vetted, because I think the biggest problem with digital PR and with Harrow is that it's generally all root domain links and generally it's brand, so you don't get the same level of control over anchors and things like that. And if you're trying to juice up clusters on your domain, if you're trying to build links into key paths on the site, then what better way than to do it via a niche edit or a guest post? It's really hard. If you've got a product category, how are you going to go out there and earn links to it? It's a product category. People aren't going to link to that because you ran some campaign. So I think it would be really interesting. I do a lot of SEO testing. I own over 200 domains.
Really?
I test everything, absolutely everything. So I'm a white hat SEO, but of course I've tested everything. I've tested every black hat strategy you can imagine, every grey hat strategy. I've tested link networks, PBNs. I've built my own PBNs. I test these things, and
what have you seen
this
work?
is the other thing, right? So when everything, right? So the most powerful thing that you can do that is unfathomably powerful. I probably shouldn't be saying this on here, but oh well, it doesn't matter, right? So what you do is you buy an EMD, okay? You buy an EMD, and for anyone that's not sure what that is, exact match domain.
Okay.
Gets close to it. It doesn't even matter if it's non-conventional domain extension. So it could be like .co or .ai or .io or whatever it is. If you can get a exact match domain or even partial match domain, and what you do is you name the site what the domain is. So you make the brand what the domain is. Okay. Yeah. Then you run your Harrow strategy, because so I've been able to do that on occasions where I've got like ridiculous sites linking to my properties, and the anchor text is the brand name, and the brand name is the EMD, it's the exact match domain. And it is so unbelievably powerful, because if you've got
the main,
effectively a keyword anchor that is brand, and it's coming from a highly authoritative site, it is just stupidly powerful. What
Amazing.
else works?
I just bought an exact match domain name actually to go with my podcast. I won't say what it is. I'm going to build it first.
Oh, really?
But that's actually a really good tip. It makes so much sense, because if your brand name is that and you're the expert from that company, it's going to be all exact match anchor text. And
that's it. You get exact match anchors, and obviously, there's a clear difference between the relationship between a domain name and the anchor text profile, because obviously, what you would expect in a normal anchor text profile is a majority of brand or brand variants at root domain level. So if your brand is the domain name and the links are reputable, then it throws the oversaturation of anchor text out the window. And I have tested that as well, because obviously, like, you can go over the top with anchor text saturation. One thing I also think is really interesting as well is, and I've spoke a bit about this recently, I'm probably going to do a webinar on it at some point, but link acquisition is like a pain point for a lot of businesses that want to do it well. It's not a pain point for agencies flogging cheap, crappy links, but in terms of like things like link velocity and just trying to think of the best way of coining it. So there's link velocity is a thing. So one other thing in a lot of the testing that I did was that when link frequency slowed down dramatically, I've seen on many occasions a correlative drop off in the performance of new content. So I set up Scooter Guide 2 years ago. I think it was 2 years ago. And, I started with the domain. I absolutely hammered out content. I hammered out links at a ridiculous rate. Then I really eased off on the link acquisition. And it didn't take long from when I eased off on the link acquisition for me to notice a significant slowdown in the uptake of new content, which sort of makes sense because what I was doing was building into specific clusters, and that drops link equity down to new pages. So obviously, if that slows down, it does have an impact. When people talk about quantity, though, again, it's a combination factor. So if you're building links, you obviously got to make sure that you've got the balance between the ongoing accruement rate outpacing your loss rate, because again, sites lose links all the time. So as long as your gain rate outweighs your loss rate and you've got a positive trajectory, it's then about keeping that quality aspect going. And that's hard. That is hard. Like, I do SEO campaigns for businesses. There's only so many Harrow links you can get. There's only so many digital PR links you can get before, it starts to become more difficult to source. I mean, have you done much with digital PR?
Not in that kind of big splash kind of way where you create a story and you email thousands of journalists and get them someone to write it. But I've definitely done it in the sense of like writing a story and pitching it to multiple kind of like local journals or like business related journals and that kind of thing. But I think one way, like maybe just change the subject slightly, but still on backlinks. One way I have seen work very well is having a database or something online, or it could even be a research report. But in the last company I worked at, they had it was a scores keyword. So actually every company in the world, like Apple, scores for this, and Amazon scores for this, and the database was enormous, like thousands of companies of like any company you could think of plus their score for this. And it was just like this huge online kind of digital database of unique kind of data that just on the daily basis got links, without us even trying.
Oh, really?
And I would say, and from the companies themselves, like in their articles linking to us as a source of their scores. And
it's not a bad
I
idea.
think if you could get a date where it could be marketing scores or email open rates for X, or I don't know what it is, but if you find all those kind of benchmarks, trends, like statistics, especially if you can get them that are company relevant, people love, especially other content managers love to use you as a source. I think that's the best way I've seen to get natural links anyway on a daily basis. And cool pictures. I would just say one other way that I've seen very regularly getting links is having a very, very good infographic that everyone uses for some reason. I don't know. I've also designed many that have not worked at all, but the odd one gets all the links. But yeah, I think
that's definitely a good idea. I think this is another good point because, for example, a lot of businesses aren't suitable for stuff like that because if, for example, you've got small businesses spending 500 quid a month on SEO and someone has to go out, do the research, find the data, put it all together, collate it, at least try and get some of it out there so that then it becomes something that isn't like logistically worth it, because the amount of time that you'd spend doing it versus the budget that you got. But definitely for medium businesses, large enterprise businesses, earning links with useful sources from data aggregation to tools is definitely a good way. I think actually that's how a lot of digital PR works now. So digital PR agency will have someone in there that will go pick a subject, they'll go and collate loads of statistics, they'll turn it into a publication, and then that will go out to journalists, and so many journalists will pick that up, and obviously off the back of that come the links. I think I think link building is overall is still challenging. So it doesn't matter how much experience you've got with SEO. It's not just getting the links that's the difficulty. It's the whole managerial aspect of it, and there's also the fact that you have to correlate what you're doing in terms of performance gains. So, for example, I've worked on SEO campaigns where I've been brought in to help because a company will have an internal SEO team, and then their MD or someone will come out to me and say, "Look, we're struggling. Things aren't moving. We need some help." I'll go in there and I'll look and I'll see that they've been slogging links out for a year and a half, 2 years, not really benefited from it. And then I've seen other sites where hardly any links have been built and they've made tremendous progress. And I think this is a really important point for anyone watching, anyone that wherever they are in their SEO career. It's really important that everything in SEO is conditional. So what works for one won't work for another. So you'll get those anomaly sites that rank, they do well, they sustain rank, they've got terrible link profile, no links or hardly any link acquisition. And then on the other side of the spectrum, you'll have a really good site, really good content, fits end user intent, building good links, doesn't move. I've seen that many a time. I've seen in the last year, I've done hundreds of audits, and some of the stuff I've seen, obviously under NDA I'm not allowed to say, but I've worked with a fairly large brand, global brand, and when I saw what they'd been doing and what had happened to their rank, I was absolutely gobsmacked. So I think, as with anything, in terms of link building, if I could give anyone any advice, the thing that has always worked best for me is getting links from content that has traffic. And nice. The other thing that you can always do as well. So the point that you said with the top pages, brilliant way, going to the top pages. If you are working on niche edits, or if you're buying niche edits, there's tons of sites where you can buy links from. Some sites will let you choose where you want links, and some don't. So you've got loads of link platforms like Authority Builders, Rhino Rank, SERP Trust. There's lots of sites out there. One of the things that I used to do was I would find a site, I'd check it in SEMrush and Ahrefs just to make sure that it hadn't tanked. Then I would put it into Ahrefs top pages data. I'd pick out top pages. Then what I would do is I'd take the top pages and then I'd also check backlinks to see if there was traffic there. Mm-hmm. Then what I would do is, before taking a link from that page, I check the outbound link ratio, and I check the value of the content in context of what my link is, and then if it all matched up, I'd get links. That worked really well for me. How well it works now, I'm not so involved on the link front anymore because I specialise in audits, but that's a good way of getting links and evaluating them.
Yeah, that really makes sense. I think I saw on the kind of link M&A side. I think I saw who was it? It's like made.com went under recently.
Yeah.
I don't know if you...
Oh, yeah, Made and Next.
Yeah, they bought that and redirected made.com into Next's category pages.
Yeah.
Which I thought is quite fun. Like, I think they spent like, I think they bought the whole thing for like 3 million or something. They got like a site with like millions of traffic and redirected it into there.
Yeah.
Why not?
The domain consolidation.
Yeah.
Domain consolidation.
If you got the budget.
Something that I know all too well about. So I've spent so over the years, years ago I used to use something called Domain Monster. It was a domain drop catching service, and I think they went bust a few years ago. Then I went over to Domain Law, which is domainlaw.uk, and it's basically a database of all domains that are dropping, and you can bid on them and win them. And
Nice.
I spent years drop catching. It's Domain Law, LORE, so domain LORE.uk.
That makes sense. Got it. So what are these? People are selling domains here.
So
Yes.
sometimes these are domains that are expiring. Sometimes they're drop caught domains that people are reselling.
As they expire and someone else grabs it.
Obviously, you've got but quite often you'll get links come up in here. Domains that come up in here that have got links. It was an old school method to catch domains and then consolidate one after another into a single root domain. I can tell you now that domain consolidation works to a very limited degree now.
Really?
What I mean by that is that if you are a large brand like Next and you acquire another large brand, i.e. made.com, and you do a consolidation, that will work. There's topical relevancy there because Next has got Next Home, they have furniture, they have all of this kind of stuff that Made had. But if Next went and brought 10 referring domains from different businesses and consolidated them, from all of the testing that I've done, Google recognises when domains are redirected in, and therefore the equity that is passed generally begins to be ignored. And again, I spent years testing this theory. So what I used to do was I used to get a domain, but I made sure that it had good quality links but low volume. And what I'd do is in Search Console, on the left hand side you've got a link section, and Google will show you a sample of the links, not all of the links, but it will show you a sample of them. Mm-hmm. Now what I did was I made sure that the domain that I had didn't have too many domains that it would go outside of the sample size. So it would be like I'd have mywebsite.com and I'd made sure it only had 50 referring domains. When I'd look in Search Console at links to your site, mm-hmm. it would come up with 50 links, so it would show nearly all of them. When I started consolidating domains, what I did was I did domain consolidation testing, but I kept the volume of referring domains low so that it wouldn't go out the sample size. And I tested it again and again and again. And what I started noticing is after the second, third domain consolidation, no new links would show, no matter what I did. And even after I removed the redirection and the consolidation, the one that I left, which hadn't been picked up, never showed any links in Search Console. And there are numerous other tests that I've done as well. But so anyone out there that is thinking of buying loads and loads of domains and consolidating them,
be careful.
I wouldn't do it. Yeah, so now, and this is another point, penalties, link penalties. So now, instead of a penalty, all that happens, instead of a penalty, let's say you consolidated 10 domains and you got equity from that 10 domains, you had a massive ranking burst. All that will happen now is Google will just pull the equity away. Whereas go around the time of Hummingbird, Penguin, especially Penguin, if your site had shed loads of links and they looked dodgy, you'd get a penalty. And there were two penalties. There were algorithmic penalty, where you just see a massive drop, and then you'd have a manual action. So when they would basically devalue, de-index a part of your site because of dodgy link schemes. That's pretty much all vanished now. So all that will happen if you do like multi-domain consolidation is you get some equity from it to a certain point, and then everything that you consolidate after that won't pass any equity. What you're better off doing is restoring any domain that you drop catch from way back, restoring it, and then just put your links on prominent pages and pass link equity that way.
Oh yeah, okay, that makes sense. So even if you're doing the the link M&A kind of thing with a very relevant site, is it so like you have 5 travel websites with the same like locations, and you've got a travel site with those locations? Does it only works with like 1 or 2, but not the 3rd, 4th, 5th? Is that what we're saying? A little blurry.
Sorry, my camera does this. I brought a camera, and it does this auto focus thing, which is really annoying. And I'll just sit there blurred for 10 minutes until it works itself out.
Sam's doing this.
Yeah. So let's see if that does it. That's a close up of an SEO's hand, which is worn out from. There you go. Yeah, brilliant. That works. Yeah. Usually, because I only cover it for a second. So good tip there. Learn something new. There's nothing technically wrong. Like I have seen it where travel companies have brought other travel companies and they consolidate them. There's no harm in doing it. Is there a benefit to doing it?
Right.
No, because if a domain has got, hundreds of links and it's an authoritative domain, and you're consolidating it on top of loads of other domains that you've consolidated in, you'd get more value not doing that consolidation, and basically passing link equity by making sure that your links outbound are prominent, and potentially sending traffic through. So there are ways that you can do it, but multi-domain consolidation, it's definitely not as effective as it used to be. And I think Google will look at multiple things. So for example, Search Console has a change of address functionality. So typically when you consolidate domains, you redirect, you do the redirection, then you go into Search Console and you tell Google that your site address has changed. Google also see DNS. So if all of a sudden, these domains, the DNS is pointing to yours and the domain's redirecting, then Google's obviously going to follow that on a crawl and land on your site. And when it does that, it's going to know that it's a direct redirection. That's why, when I've done consulting for businesses that have looked to do stuff like this, I've advised against it. Typically. So
yeah, it's interesting. I like what you said about just building that website kind of back and just linking from it and using it that way. Anyway, I think that's because people should probably stop trying to hack Google. Eventually, they will catch up with you. That's kind of my philosophy.
Yeah, that's a good point. They'll always catch up.
Yeah,
they'll always catch up. It takes time. I think now, and this sort of leads on to ChatGPT, I think AI is going to play a massive part in how people execute SEO, how people plan SEO.
Yeah.
And I think
it's genuinely amazing. Like every single day that ChatGPT is out in the world, like people are finding new use cases, and I'm seeing more and more blog posts that are like 20 ways you can use ChatGPT in your SEO, and it's I'm yet to be like, this is changing my daily workflow, but like I'm sure it's gonna
Yeah.
get there. I did actually use it to categorize the intent of a bunch of keywords the other day. It was like, oh, there's a huge list. I can't be bothered to go through and do this. I'm sure there are better automated ways, but I was doing it by hand, and I chucked it in
I think
ChatGPT, and it worked. Um, yeah,
I think so. I'm pro AI, but I also see. I mean, it's a lot of hype at the minute. Obviously, the tech is incredible, and so there's a massive amount of hype. Everyone wants to be on the bandwagon, so everyone is finding a way that they can utilize it into their workflow.
yeah,
And to be honest, it's like, and I've seen a few people a bit bitter about this, because what some people say is, well, I've got this AI, I can use this to generate content. Why do I need to pay £30, £40 an hour for a writer? When I can get ChatGPT to do it, and I can just pay someone to adjust it. But I think it's supposed to be complementary, not a replacement. So I would say something like ChatGPT you would use to perhaps, like you did with the intent grouping, you can use it for cues, for ideas, but ChatGPT isn't going to be the thing that conducts an SEO test. It's not going to be the thing that you can feed it GSC data and make decisions. It's not going to replace specialist writers who know an industry inside out. And I think a lot of people are going to make mistakes with ChatGPT. Did you hear, or I say here, I saw someone, I forget who it was, they posted earlier today, as a matter of fact, they posted a snapshot. I think it was Bankrate.
The sound just cut out.
It was Bankrate, or it was... Oh.
Sorry, the sound just cut out.
Oh, I can hear you now.
Yeah, I got you now. Cool. What?
Yeah, unfortunately. The only thing with like podcasting is you're really reliant on your internet connection.
Yeah. I think it's so. What you're saying? Did you see a screenshot or something?
Yeah. So I saw a screenshot someone had shared on LinkedIn, and it was a snapshot from Bankrate, which is like a large financial publication. And the article, the author of the article, it just said Bankrate AI author.
Really?
Yeah, so I think some of these publications, what they might be trying now is to see, can we use ChatGPT?
Huh? So they're not even claiming, like, they're not trying to pretend that they wrote it. They're just saying, by the way, this was generated by Chat. I don't fully understand that, Pat. I've written a blog post on my website about writing an article with ChatGPT, and I did it. And I think anyone who maybe I'm just, maybe I've not prompted it perfectly, or maybe whatever it is. But if anyone thinks that ChatGPT is going to replace writers, they're probably not creating content like that people actually want to read. And I like most people do this anyway, so fair enough. But like if you actually go and look and read an article and think, would you want your top customer to go and read this? Like then if the answer is no, then I think you probably shouldn't be using it, and you probably shouldn't be just creating content for SEO that no one actually wants to read in the first place. So like,
do you think it's the utilization of it is to save money and time?
Yeah, I think it's like a process. The perfect way to use it is like to optimize your processes in some way. But when it comes to like writing to persuade, like, use it for ideas, use it for like rewrite your title or something for if you've got writer's block, or I think writers can really speed up their processes. Be like, maybe it can say like which topic should I cover and which topics are interesting about, financial services, and then it would help you idea generate. And there's little things like that. I think it will really speed up processes, but like the skill of written word, and like if you ask it to write something, like it's pretty good, but and I guess it will get better with time. But ultimately, I think as a human, as a senior director at another companies, that's your target audience. Like they need critical thought and analysis, and like something that will never be good enough.
Yeah.
Like thought leadership, I don't think will ever come from ChatGPT.
No,
but maybe your article might. So.
I saw someone also posted something about GPT-4, and apparently it had like over 1 trillion parameters.
I saw that as well. Yeah,
GPT-3, and
maybe it would get incredible.
It is scary. I mean, the way I liken it, right, is that as a society we always go through evolutions, right? So one day someone was riding a steam train to work, and then a couple of years later they're on an electric train, and then people are getting into their own cars, and then things change. And it's like when I grew up, supermarkets didn't have self-checkouts, self-scan. Okay, now they've got self-scan, and then you've got Amazon that have got a shop. I think it's Amazon. I've got a shop in London where you can walk in, and it I don't know how it detects, and there's no staff. It's all just done by tech. So what we see as a society is a complete change in the way that we do things. Now, a lot of people in the SEO industry have been talking about, is ChatGPT going to put people out of jobs? Are writers going to lose their jobs? SEO is going to be put out of work? I think that's the wrong way of looking at it. ChatGPT obviously isn't there just for the SEO community. It's there for anyone. You can ask it to write you a recipe, write you a CV. I think from an SEO point of view, a client isn't going to sit there and think, I'll just use ChatGPT. Why do I need an SEO consultant for? So I think we're a long way from automation taking away a lot of what we do. I think, as you said, like, it's there to be complementary. And I think if people really think that OpenAI's ChatGPT is going to be ahead of what Google are doing and whatever Google are doing, and it's not just that. IBM were building Watson. I think it was Watson more than 10 years ago.
Yeah.
Okay. God only knows how much power that's got behind it, and Google have got their own AI. So
I've heard
for
it.
them,
I've heard Watson's a shambles, and it always has been from people inside. But that's allegedly.
Oh, really?
They come to me. Yeah, but I agree. It doesn't take much to. It comes out of nowhere. Like, you always expect someone like Google to be around. You're like, how could anyone take them off the top spot?
But then Yahoo was like that.
Like, everyone was like that in the past. Like, look at Twitter. Like, what's going to happen? Like, everything that you think is stable is something like a technological revolution can knock it off that top spot. Google, I think, has been investing in AI for years, but how many more people are going to ChatGPT to make searches, to ask questions? Like, is that going to change over time? Like, they could knock Google out. Who knows?
I mean, I think
scary.
Obviously, Google have got their own AI. I've got MindBlock at the minute. Is it DeepMind?
Yeah, I think so. They're way ahead of the curve on AI, aren't they?
Oh, yeah. So, obviously, AI has been a part of Google's core algo. I think RankBrain was 2017, something like that.
Yeah.
And then what they do, this is another interesting point. The other buzz recently was Google EEAT.
Yeah.
So they've added another E in, experience, experts, authority, trustworthiness. And the thing is that, and this sort of will tie in independently, but Google uses RankBrain, and there's untold variables that they'll cross combine to evaluate something. But the interesting aspect of it is that they still use human quality raters. Obviously, the quality raters have guidelines to go by. So I think that in a way sort of demonstrates that even though Google have made significant advancements with AI, still can't entirely trust it, which is why there's still human quality raters. And I think I've also seen a lot of people say ChatGPT put out stuff that was inaccurate, wrong. They say it's not connected to external data sources, so that the data that it works with is pre-2021.
Yeah,
it's not real time data.
Yeah, I know. I've seen that as well. I can't remember what I typed into it, but it was something more recent, and they were like, "Sorry, we don't have anything past 2021." It literally said that.
Yeah.
I think.
Yeah. So it's going to be. Yeah.
Have you ever asked it to write you a piece of code? Because that's amazing.
Yeah.
That's like, and I think
that's
so.
I used it. I used it to help.
We go.
No, go on.
We're having like just a little bit of a lag, I think.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. No. It's like there's some ways. So this could be like I keep telling people, like, a blog post is not the only way to win in Google, and you can create experiences too. And like if you type in things like how to capitalize a title or something, a website comes up that has just a widget that you put in your title, and it would capitalize it. It will add capital letters to it. And like that, it doesn't need to have loads of words on the page. It fulfills search intent with like a little tool. And I think maybe SEOs could lean into like creating more tools and like experiences, like with the help of ChatGPT, to build them for them, and like make little web apps and stuff. And if it could get good enough to create you like the HTML and the CSS, and then just you embed it on your site, we could come up with like web tools. And that could be a really fun way to use it, I think.
Yeah, so I've started to use it to evaluate Laravel PHP. And yeah, I mean, it does a good job. It's able to understand components of code and explain what certain things do. Again, this is the other thing. So I've got a team. I've got a full stack team of developers, and I've said to them about it. Why don't you look at it to see if it can help? They didn't seem too impressed by that, so they thought, well, maybe I'm undermining their knowledge by asking them to use something from AI. But I think what we're going to see this year in terms of core updates, we're definitely going to see an aggressive stance on AI content, because the way I think when you look at how humans write content, what will happen, and I'm not sure if many people have thought about this, but if you've got an index, okay, for, I don't know, buy cheap trainers online, okay, and you've got an index. Actually, that's an e-com term, so that's best places to visit in 2023. If you've got lots of AI content that is generated around that, it's not necessarily the pattern of a single article that's going to trigger it, it will be Google's indexed millions of sites with content around best places to visit. And what it might do is look at correlative factors in how things are put together, because I think what they do is in these language models, they look at the proximity of text, wording, strings, because the thing is like if 50 people asked ChatGPT to write the same article, there's going to be some similarity and crossover there, whereas humans are far more prone to writing openly and naturally, unless obviously you get your content off of Fiverr. And I think what will happen is that people will rank AI content no matter what, like that will happen. But I think what will happen is the same with links, is that the longevity of that content will be far shorter lived. So it might be that you've written, you know, an article in ChatGPT for something to do with SEO, you get it to rank. I think the life cycle of that content will be much shorter. Realistically,
it's not really a competitive advantage if you've written it very, like, with AI, is it? And you're not building something that's naturally going to build links over time and build authority and be like, you know, build you that respect that ultimately I think websites should try to build. And if anyone can write what you've written, then like what's to stop them? And then who? I think that's the whole mess that it's in at the moment, because and I think that's exactly why Google added the extra E, really, to EEAT, because if you've just had AI, I actually think that's the reason why people are hating Google anyway. It's because most people who write on there don't have any experience of the thing they're writing about. And anyone in SaaS will have had that experience too. Like, you know, we're hire content managers, and I was a content manager at one point in a SaaS. Like, you know, I'm writing in-depth articles about customer service when I have never worked in customer service, and you know, there are ways around it. Like, I would interview people, or I'll you know, get quotes from people and whatever it is, but ultimately I don't have like the best content would have been a first-hand experience, you know. And
that's exactly it. And I think you can't beat having a writer that knows the niche inside out, as opposed to having a generic writer that has to research, because then they've got to rely on where they're getting their data from being correct. And if you don't understand something, there's no way that you can write it with the right topical authority. You know, there'll be exceptions to that where people fluke it, or someone might actually do something really good even though they didn't understand. But the general consensus is, it's like, would I take my car to to a car wash when it's got an oil leak and say, you know, can you fix? No, because they're not car mechanics. Whereas, and it's the same with legal. You know, if you need legal advice, you go to a solicitor's. You know, you don't get your legal advice off of Reddit or Quora. And I think on the whole content things, it's getting more complex. When I put rants out on LinkedIn about, you know, when people say SEO is easy, and I'm like, I shake my head, because, you know, you might get some SEOs that have fluked it, or you'll get some SEOs that inherited a project where the previous work set the wheel in motion for the ranks to come, but obviously there's time delay, and then an SEO can come in, and then all of a sudden the rankings go through the roof. Sort of like your situation when you went into the travel agency and they tanked. Someone can come in not long after the rankings can boom, and then the SEO is like, oh, well, that was easy. And I think
SEO so not.
I think
it's one of the just to kind of answer that point, but I think in a way, if you do SEO fundamentally, there are a few things that you can do that are easy, if that makes sense. Like, if you there's a few fundamentals that everyone should just know and get right and do properly, but then it seems to be that everyone knows those fundamentals but still can't do much. And I think a good example is I talked to someone who was like content manager at G2 back in when they were like scaling up, and they said they wrote 500 articles a quarter, which I think some of them majority never ranked, and I think they were. It was passed on from the top down, saying we just need to get to 1 million traffic or 2 million traffic, so let's do everything. They did that. They wrote a shitload of content that no one ever read, and then there was a shitload of content that obviously got traffic but never converted and never did anything for their business. So like, especially like, SEO needs to be kind of seen in that broader picture of growth. And if it isn't, then you just got a bunch of traffic that you don't know what to do with. But like getting that traffic is one step, which most people find very difficult. But then actually getting the right traffic with the right experience and the right content that's actually going to make you money. You know, like if you have a niche site, traffic's great because you get advertising money. But if you have a business, you need to be like holistically thinking about the growth of your business. And that's why I think SEO is extremely complicated. It's a part of a stack of growth, and it's not, it needs to be thought of.
You said today's trigger word, which was stack. So I don't know if you know what I'm probably going to talk about or bring up. SEO Stack.
Your SEO Stack.
Yeah. So I've had over 1,000 people sign up, register their interest, which I'm blown away by. So I know I've got 1,000 people that want to sign up when it's ready. So
this SEO Stack .io.
Yeah. So I think I can share my screen. I know I intend it for this to be a podcast, so if anyone's listening to this and not watching it, just try and visualize it. Let me see if I can share my screen. 1 second. Right, so share. Oh, so it keeps us on. Okay.
By the way, I have to go in about 15 minutes. I've got a call.
That's fine. That's fine. We'll wrap up shortly.
Oh, perfect.
So obviously you use Search Console on a regular, yeah?
Yeah. Oh, I've seen this in your post. Sorry, I didn't actually click through.
Yeah. So you can see this, yeah. So what I'll do, I'll just show you this. So I've got something to compare against. So what really annoyed me with Search Console over the years is just the fact that I'm limited to 16 months of data. And people say, well, why do you need any more than that? But when you're doing an audit and you want to get a bit of a look back, having a larger set of data is much better. So the first thing in here is that if I want to go back, the furthest I can go back is, I could have just clicked last 16 months, but so the furthest I can go back is September the 11th, 2021.
Yeah.
That was just the last 16 months and that bit. But in SEO Stack, I can go back to the 26th of January, 2021. So I've got 9 months of extra history.
How is that? So is that using the same? Using Google Search Console?
So yes. So what it does is from the day that you add your website, it will store that 16 months of data, and then every day it appends another days of data. So I will always have data from the 26th of January. So in 2 years from now, I will have nearly 4 years of Search Console data.
Okay, so you kind of, when you plug in, you do So from the day that you add your site,
it will backtrack 16 months, and then every day moving forwards, it appends that additional day onto the historic data. So,
very cool.
let's say you get 60. Let's say you sign up today and you get 16 months. In 3 months from today, you'll have 19 months of data. But not only does it do that, it also stores every single keyword, all of the page data, everything. So you've got that. My microphone's in front of me. Okay. Now, watch this. So, if I want all of the queries that contain, let's say, web, and I want to exclude the query London, well, I can't, because I can only apply. I can do like I can do queries containing or not containing, or I can do multiple queries with regex, but I can't layer filters.
Yeah, it's very annoying. Agreed.
Yeah, well now you can. So I can do queries containing web, and it will filter those. It will be faster, unfortunately, at the minute. You know, we're doing a lot of optimization. So I can now add another query, and I can layer as many queries, and I can do queries containing and not containing at the same time in any combination that I want.
It's amazing that Google just doesn't do stuff like this themselves, isn't it? It's just, I find this with LinkedIn as well. I could fix LinkedIn. I feel like there's so many things I don't do. Yeah,
like it's so annoying. Well, so I had to build SEO Stack, and it's got, so it is all, this is all Search Console data over Search Console API, but I'm building on top of it, and I'm going to make it so good that people will use this instead of Search Console. So, for example, we've added PDF as an export format, and we allow you, if you want to filter by queries and page, and we're going to add in other filter options. Okay.
Can I tell you?
You've got all of the data.
Can you export? What I'd love is like export the last 12 months, but give it to me in month by month, if that makes sense.
Yeah, that's one of the things that we'll build in.
Yeah, that was cool. I'd love to just know, can you add in like a content decay calculator? Like which of your articles has gone down 3 months in a row?
So
I made a template
we're working on.
myself.
So if you look at this as well, so we overlay algo updates on top of GSC data, and we overlay annotations. So if you want to add your own annotation, you can say what you did on a certain date. So you can see whether or not your annotation has had any impact. So you can do that.
Nice.
But so SEO Stack is a multifaceted tool. We've got all different tools in here. So for example, we've got even like basic things. So we're building in complex stuff, but we're also doing other stuff. So for example, you know the old keyword clouds.
Yeah.
Well, keyword clouds work by when you put a URL into a keyword cloud, and it will just look at that content, and it will generate a keyword cloud based on density. What this does is this takes all of the GSC data. So because this is done by how GSC is serving your website, you can see the weighting of the terms based upon the GSC coverage over the whole data set that's stored.
Mm-hmm.
So
cool.
The larger text is more frequently served, basically, and we can see all of the auxiliary stuff around it, and you can obviously select URL.
Simple.
Now, a lot of people... Yeah, a lot of people... Now, watch this, okay? So, I won't keep you too long. I hope anyone watching this looks forward to it. So this was supposed to have gone public November last year, but Oh, we've had a lot of challenges, one hell of a lot of challenges, but it's getting there. It's almost ready. So what this what this does, God, it's like my voice is breaking. What this does, okay, is this allows me to look at how many queries are associated with a page over a time frame to see the weighting of the page based upon how much it's served, and I can look at I can look at lots of different data sets. Where is...
Zero click.
So, for example, I can look at trust flow from Majestic. We've got Ahrefs integration as well.
Nice.
We're just doing some overhauls on this data at the minute, but it will look for all of the internal links. But the most powerful thing here is viewing query counts over time. So the reason that I think this will really help with SEO is because there's a basic principle that I never really hear people talk about. Query counts are so important because they are an indicator of value and quality. Okay, let me explain. The more Google serves something, the more value is seen in that content. So low value served less, high value served more. Okay, so ignore the dip. So one thing we need to put a note here to say, like, we're only 12 days into January, so that's why it shows a dip. But I can look over time for any page on the domain, and I can look at how often it's being served. The visual representation here allows you to see how often it's being served, which is the black total line. And then it shows you what the composition of that serving looks like by how many queries are in position 31 to 100, 21 to 30. Hopefully this will be a lot quicker when it's on AWS.
So over time,
for example,
growing queries. Ranking.
And then I can overlay. So the black line is the indicator of the total volume of queries, and then the lines below it are what builds that value.
Mm-hmm.
So the reason that this is so effective is that SEO testing by most tools is done on the end result, and that's click. But that doesn't work, because in order to get the click, you must have some form of ranking and traffic. What this does is, if I write, let's say, I take a page on the client site and I redo the content, I'm not going to go from not ranking anywhere to number one. But what I can see is, if I see all of a sudden a big increase in the volume of queries,
something's coming.
And then I can see that most of that growth is position 31 to 100. Then I can see that it's moving in the right direction. And then I can peel this back. So I can filter down all the terms. So I can see the volume of queries at position 1, 4 to 10. So if I can see an upward trend across all the position groups, I know whatever I've done has had a positive impact. Now, how can I do that? So watch this. Okay, so if I decided that I was going to ramp this page up, okay, I can create annotation, okay, and I can say whether it's site-wide or whether it's at this URL. I can put in the work that I did, date, who did it, what changes I made, and then if I change internal link count, Ahrefs, if I'm doing link building. And then I can even get it to send me an email if it detects significant change as a result of the work that I've done.
Nice. This
so
is great. It's not normally not easy to do so many SEO tests. And I think part of it's just measuring and remembering what you did.
That's it. Well, this is going to put an end to that.
Yeah. That's cool.
Cool. So for example, if you were saying, okay, well, we're going to do, I don't know, link building to the URL, you'd put in your Majestic trust flow. We are going to automate the population of this from Ahrefs and Majestic. But what it will do is you'll put your numbers in. Then, once you've added it, it will then track the impact of that against changes. And then if you want to show NLP or trust flow on the chart over the top, you can. So
That's cool. What
then
is
it
the
will
NLP?
automatically natural language processing from inlinks. So we have built into this inlinks, which is it's like Surfer. I find inlinks is a really, really powerful content tool. So if you look here, what this will do is it will pull all of your URLs. Okay, so it will look for lead query by click and impression. Okay, so I can click content score. If I want to override the term because it's not returning the best term, then I can, and then I can select what country. So this turns out to be the term that I want. I then click save. That will now go and run a natural language processing audit on this page, and it will come back with a brief like this.
Oh, nice.
And it'll show me like missing topics, SERP analysis, keywords, questions, content structure, all done.
Ah, cool. So this could be like, it's like Google Search Console supercharged with all your other tools.
Yeah,
one hub. Yeah,
that's
nice.
it.
That's very cool.
All in one place. And we've got like real-time content auditing. So we can select over a time frame to audit our content. So we can find URLs that are dead. We can do thing like the weak dead URL discovery tool. So what this will do is it will look at the relationship between how old a page is. So you can see here.
Mm-hmm.
And then it will look at queries. So we can filter by content status. We are going to make this a drop down instead. So you can filter by content status. Click, put dead. And then it will come back and tell us all the content that's dead.
So is that like an old page with it's not growing or it's not getting?
Yeah. Okay. So it's looking at the relationship between query uptake.
Yeah.
And obviously it will look for zero-click URLs that have got a low volume of impressions for the age. 659 impressions for something that is 2 years old is awful. And it looks for breaks in average position lines. So you can then literally export that to a Google Sheet.
So you're kind of having all your
it.
kind of content audit, everything you're doing in your kind of content audits, you've stuck in this.
Yeah. So effectively, what I'm building, what SEO Stack will become, will be phenomenal. It will literally, I intend on making this so powerful. Like we're even at the minute building a rank intelligence tool. I won't say too much because obviously I know we need to wrap up, but basically the rank intelligence tool, you'll tell it a topic and then the queries that you want to rank for. I'm not sure it's working at the minute. It's in dev at the minute. You'll put a query in that you want to rank for, and what it will do is it will go out and it will get all of the data from Search Console to see if you've got any pre-existing pages. It will look for cannibalization. It will size up the SERP. It will get link data from Ahrefs and Majestic and consolidate all of that. And it will come back and it will tell you the kinds of experiments that you should run. It will generate the content brief for you. It will give you advice on links. And it will help you run an experiment to help you basically get your page to rank. So there's that brief that we just ran.
Yeah.
86%. So yeah, there's loads more to come as well.
That's
We've got
cool.
data tools and other stuff as well. So yeah, I hope the thing is that I couldn't carry on being in the industry and not God, this camera, honestly, I spent a lot of money on it as well because I wanted a really good 4K camera. But so the plan is with SEO Stack is and one thing I'll say just before we go, right? Do you know the funniest thing in the SEO industry is that everyone will copy. it doesn't matter what you do, everyone will copy you.
Yeah.
Like, sorry, no, I take that back. Not everyone. A lot of people, if they will copy you. Yeah. So what I thought is, I've got my SEO audits business. People are going to copy it. And obviously people have been doing SEO audits for years, but I'm doing high-end premium audits. And people will copy that and will go and do the same. So what I'm going to do is have SEO Stack and SEO Audits integrated so that I make my audits so hard to copy because of the way that I get the data and process it. But, ultimately, like in the SEO game, you've always got to be one step ahead. You've always got to be like doing something better than your competitors. And I guess that sort of brings me to the point that I'm seeing people do podcasts and I'm thinking, why have I left it so long to get people that love SEO like yourself on to just sit and talk SEO? Anyway, I'm not going to keep you any longer. I think it's been really great talking to you, Ben, honestly. What's your website for the audience?
It's called thefuck.com. My podcast is called How the Fuck. And the website.
Oh, yeah, I'll see.
And the website
Brilliant.
thfxck.com. And watch this space for I post on LinkedIn every day. Like, watch this space for I'm going to release a new website soon, so you can check that out.
Brilliant. Well, yeah, let us know. Let me know when you do, and I'll share it on LinkedIn. But honestly, thank you so much for today. Really appreciate it. I hope everyone that tuned in has enjoyed the podcast. Obviously, don't forget to check out SEO Audits, SEO-audits.io, and check out SEO Audits.io on LinkedIn. Thank you very much for your time, Ben. I hope you have a lovely evening, and it's good to speak to you.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me on. I've learned a lot, so I'm sure everyone else has. Thanks so much.
Fantastic. Okay, brilliant. Take care.
Yeah, all right, thanks. Talk soon. When do you think these will be out?